Hello and welcome back to the Dugout podcast. This is going to be a new series and something slightly different, I think, from anything we've done on the channel before. But leading up to the World Cup, I think we're around, 10 days away from that opening game now in Mexico. I look very much looking forward to it. And through, from now until a few days into the tournament starting, actually, we're going to be previewing every group, speaking about all the nations, all of the players, all of the storylines, the headlines, our predictions, all of that brilliant, fun stuff in the lead up to the World Cup. And of course, I'm joined by my usual co-host, Alex. How are you doing, first of all, Alex, and how are you looking forward to previewing all 48 teams of the World Cup?
I'm exhausted. I've not even researched half the blooming teams, and I've fed up. I'm excited. I'm excited. It's always interesting to get a perspective. I mean, there are some fascinating stories and players in here that I hadn't really realised before. There's one from Paraguay that I didn't from the whole season of watching the English Premier League. I didn't even know who he was. And he's actually played quite a lot for a certain club. I'm sure we'll dive into more about him. But yeah, there's loads of interesting stories, loads of players being left out. I mean, obviously Jeremy Frimpong, quite funny story recently. Heartbreaking for him, obviously, but a couple of days ago he was asked about Memphis Depay, and he was like, "I hope he's there with us. He brings a lot." And Jeremy Frimpong gets left out the Netherlands side, so there's loads of stuff like that. Loads of players not making it, loads of players who have made it that are maybe surprising for a lot of people. And yeah, the greatest sporting event in the world is just less than 2 weeks away.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing.
Yeah, and I think you stated it there. It deserves this kind of build up, and there'll be loads of people doing similar things. And yeah, we obviously mostly focus on Scottish football on this channel, but I think the World Cup deserves to be an exception to that. Obviously, Scotland being in it makes it a lot better. So this, as Alex said, this may take a while. So we're recording these, splitting the World Cup groups into two halves, recording one half of it today, and one half of it tomorrow. Each group will come out daily. Group C will not probably come out in sort of chronological order, as we're going to bring that later to you with a more sort of in-depth analysis, as obviously Scotland's group. But I think the first place to start is Group A, with the hosts, or one of the three hosts, Mexico,
Can
15th
I
ranked nation in the world.
can I
And
just interject quickly?
Yeah,
I was so dumb because obviously part of this research was qualification route, right? And I was spending ages trying to find out how Mexico qualified. Then I remembered they were the hosts.
Oh, yeah, that is silly. But in recent years, they have got some sort of really good sort of credentials going into this tournament. Out with obviously the fact that they didn't have to play the qualifiers, they won the CONCACAF sort of Champions League or whatever you want to call it, in the 24-25, which pretty much making them the best team in North America, the highest ranked side in North America. And I think, yeah, I mean, I don't want to give my predictions away too early, but I have got big sort of aspirations, I think, for this Mexico team under Javi Arguere, I think the manager's pronounced, 67-year-old, former international, and his third spell as the oh no, third spell as the national team coach. After a weird sort of, he done a year in 2001 and 2002, and then again in 2009 and 2010. But this has certainly been the best spell for him. Also, being Egypt and Japan boss, as well as a few club roles. But yeah, I have really big expectations for Mexico. I think in this tournament they've obviously got some really good players throughout that squad. Anyone, before we probably run through the whole squad, anyone in particular that stands out throughout that squad, Alex?
Um, I don't know. I don't think there's anyone that particularly like jumps out as me as they could be a major difference maker. But there are some talented players in there. Uh, and I know you joked about this, Ethan, before we came on, but FIFA career mode, free agent legend Alexis Vega, obviously in the team. Obviously, they've got the World Cup legend making his way to his sixth World Cup, Guillermo, or as they call him, Memo Ochoa. And yeah, but I've got some notes on some of the squad selection that when I was watching like a breakdown video, I thought was quite interesting. It was actually by a former MLS and USA international. I can't mind his name now, but I think he was sort of Mexican American, Hispanic American, because of his pronunciations were just ridiculously good. Um, yeah, Hercules Gomez. There we go. That's who I was watching. He made 24 appearances for the United States, scoring 6 goals. So that was sort of the breakdown of the Mexico national team that I was watching earlier. And firstly, there are some maybe you could call them snubs that he did bring up. First one is Herman Bertarami of Inter Miami. He's struggled a little bit at first when he came into the league, but he's started scoring goals recently. Let me just pull up his. I had his thing. This is where I started learning, because at the start of the research, I have a load of stuff on my notepad, and I wasn't writing down like goals and assist numbers. Then later on, I started doing it, but this is towards the start of the research. I'm going to need to find the players. Yeah, but for Inter Miami, he's made 17 appearances, 10 goals and assists, all competitions. So that's maybe one that could miss out. Although I've got some points about the striker selection that I thought was quite interesting, and Hercules brought up, or Hercules. I don't know how you pronounce it. I'm just going to call him Hercules. Brought up that I thought was quite interesting, and the second sort of big one, maybe down to sort of injuries, was Marcel Ruiz. He is a DM. He can play sort of 8 as well. He plays for Toluca, and he played in a friendly recently, but I think he came off with some sort of discomfort. He's not made the final cut, unfortunately. Although he has been playing for Mexico, he made 13 appearances in 2025. He's made 3 appearances this year for the national team. So those are probably 2 of the big misses for Mexico in this selection.
Yeah, I didn't. I missed that. Obviously, you had a different inroad of research into this squad as I did, but no, interesting to know the players that have missed out and maybe did have a case to go, because obviously, speaking personally about the Scottish squad, there's a few players you can make the case for. And that going through the squad on the face of it, you've got Raul Rangel from Chivas, who I think will be the starting goalkeeper. You've got Ochoa, as you mentioned, over 20 years of playing for the national team now, a legend with over 150 caps, someone that I think me and Alex remember at World Cups growing up. And then Carlos Acevedo of Santos Laguna. And then the defenders, Jorge Sanchez of Pauk, I remember him formerly playing for Ajax against Rangers, actually, in fact. Israel Reyes, Club America, versatile central defender.
This is
Cesar
this is just free agent heaven, man. Just
yeah, obviously with the what me and Alex are referencing to is that in modern day FIFAs, or FCs as they're now officially called, they don't quite have the rights for the Mexican league anymore, but some of the players are still available to sign on career mode through the free agent market. So most of the players obviously playing in the Mexican league, which there is quite a lot of them, of course, is the Mexico squad. And the 2 central defenders likely to start, I think they'll play in Europe. Cesar Montes of Lokomotiv Moscow, Johan Vasquez of Genoa, who spent now 5 seasons in Italy. And then I believe who is possibly most likely to be starting left back is just Gallardo of Toluca, 120 appearances for the national team across 10 years, which isn't bad going. 15 goals and 16 assists from left back across the last two seasons as well, which is very impressive. And then finishing off the very short list of defenders I've got here, although I know some of the midfielders are sort of put as midfielders, sorry, but are more central defenders, is Mateo Chavez of AZ Alkmaar in the Netherlands. Listed as midfielders, you've got Eric Lira of Cruz Azul, one of those players I mentioned who could easily play in central defence. Orbelin Pineda of AK Athens, 91 caps for him. Alvaro Fidalgo of Real Betis, former Real Madrid youth player who made one senior appearance for them and moved back to Spain last summer after and then his first caps really recently actually after that move from Club America. Brian Gutierrez, another player from Chivas, started his career for Chicago
By
Fire.
the way, fun fact about Chivas, they're the team with the most players in their squad. There are 5 Chivas players in the squad selection for the World Cup.
Yeah, that's a good fact. I did notice that, but I did notice they had a lot of players from the Mexican league from Chivas, but I wasn't actually sure that they had the outright most. And Gutierrez, really interesting career path for him. Started in his younger years. He's still pretty young, mind you, at Chicago Fire and the US youth team. Now, obviously, Chivas in Mexico. So a slight switch there. Luis Romo, also Chivas, another one of those players, deep line midfielder who can also play in central defence. One of the star players of the team, Edson Alvarez of West Ham United. I don't know how much longer he will be a part of that squad. Obviously, wasn't part of that squad for this season on loan at Fenerbahce. Should be able to reach a century of caps at the tournament. Abed Vargas, Atletico Madrid, 20-year-old, made 13 appearances under Diego Simeone since signing in January, formerly of Seattle Sounders, and he's another one who previously went through the United States youth setup. And then somebody who I think a lot of Mexicans have got a lot of excitement for the tournament is Gilberto Mora of Tijana, youngest player in the squad at 17, made his national debut at 16. And then the final player is Luis Chavez of Dinamo Moscow, who suffered a serious ACL injury about a year ago with the national team. He's only managed to play 5 times this season, but obviously delighted for him that he's been able to recover and make the squad. And then for the forwards, you've got Roberto Alvarado of Chivas, Cesar Huerta of Anderlecht, who was a doubt to make the squad, but did get there in the end. He's moved to Europe. I don't think it's worked too well for him. Then Alexis Vega, who we mentioned. One player that I'm picking out as my sort of star player of this squad that I really think could be a problem for the oppositions. Julian Quinones of Al Qadsiya under Brendan Rodgers in Saudi Arabia, former actually Colombian youth player. He has been absolutely excellent since going over there, and he's had some really excellent seasons wherever he's played in recent years. I'll pull up his stats. 2 seasons at Atlas, he had 16 goals and then 21 goals. Then at Club America, 23 goals, and then last season, or 2 seasons ago, you might call it now, with Al Qadsiya, 25 goals and 8 assists in 33 games. And the season just gone by, Alex, 37 goals and 4 assists in 35 games. So I think he's going to be one of the main threats for the Mexican team, and he could be a player to really watch out for.
Yeah, absolutely. He's one that's definitely popped up on my radar. This season, you just can't ignore those type of numbers. Even if you don't pay too much attention to the Saudi league, news like that breaks through, and he's been absolutely incredible for them this season. Staying on the strikers though, I thought was quite interesting. So Mexico, they play the last game they played was against Australia. That was yesterday, right? And they seem to play with a 4-2-3-1. Um, they've selected four out and out number nines, which I think is really, really interesting. Strange squad selection there from Aguirre. Excuse the pronunciations for any Spanish speakers watching, but yeah, I think it's a really, really strange selection there from him. But maybe there's a method to the madness. I mean, you can't exclude Quinones, obviously Raul Jimenez, sort of a, I don't know, you could call cult hero. He's always a name that's going to be around the national team. But that is definitely interesting. Some more stats here. Their squad has an average age of 27.6. So not the youngest or not the oldest either, sort of right in the sweet spot. They only have 12 players with World Cup experience, which if they want to make a deeper run could affect them. You never know. Although could be on the other side of things, players hungry to prove themselves, hungry to show what they can do for their nation. Could work out in the other direction. I mean, Scotland have zero players with World Cup experience, so we're hoping we can get out of the groups. But yeah, those I think those are just some of the interesting points, and obviously, I don't think this will be the team going into the World Cup, but maybe just trying out some players. But I've got the lineup for the game against Australia, which they did win 1-0. And maybe it'll give some. I think some of these players will definitely be starting. So they had Raul Rangel in goal, Edson Alvarez and Johan Vasquez as the centre backs, Mateo Chavez left back, Jorge Sanchez at right back. They had the two Luises in the centre of midfield, Romo and Chavez. Pineda off the wing, off the right hand side, Alexis Vega. Off the left, they had Fidalgo playing in behind the striker, and they had Guillermo Martinez starting up top for them. Martinez's numbers aren't great for Pumas. He's played 36 games this season, only scored 12 goals, which is still like respectable. But when you're looking at Quinones, and then obviously Raul Jimenez plays in the Premier League, maybe his numbers aren't anything to look at and go, wow, that's amazing. But it's a different level of competition.
Yeah, and that has age. Raul Jimenez to still score 10 Premier League goals this season is still a respectable return. And I think a lot of people thought his career was maybe sort of coming to an end, especially after that head injury that he got, that terrible injury. But obviously he's bounced back and put together some really decent seasons at Fulham. Not the highs that he once had at Wolves, of course, but certainly respectable. As I said, 45 goals and 125 caps for him, which is certainly not a return to be sort of turn your nose up at international level. The other Jimenez, Santiago, well, he hasn't really had any sort of form since moving to AC Milan. That big move from Feyenoord, where he had a lot of success, 16 Serie A appearances this campaign. No goals. Someone who has had a complete opposite upturn, and the last player to mention as part of this squad, Armando Gonzalez, another Chivas player. He had 3 goals in 5 seasons at Tapatio and Chivas, but the season just gone by, or this season that they're in the middle of, in Mexico, 26 goals. So certainly an upturn in form for him. But I think I've made my feelings clear. I feel Mexico are the strongest team in this group, looking at the face of it. But I think it will be a really competitive group as we go through the other teams. Unbeaten in 7, with 6 clean sheets, including friendlies against European giants, Belgium and Portugal. I think the aspirations for them are probably just to satisfy the host nation. You don't get this opportunity often, and they want to impress their fans. Of course, all 3 of their group games are in their home country. what satisfying the host nation is, I couldn't tell you because obviously I'm not Mexican. But I'd imagine they'll want to, they'll reach the knockout stages, whether that be around the 32, 16, or even the quarterfinals, which is the furthest stage they've ever reached in 1970 and 1986.
Yeah, I think this Mexico team are good. I think this group is a bit. I don't know, Ethan. I think I've got some different feelings to you. I think this group's a wee bit more competitive than you might
No, I
think.
think it is very competitive. It is, as we'll go through, but I just think Mexico are the strongest team. But you know,
Yeah, I think they will progress. I'll back them to go round of 16. I think Mexico.
under 16. I think I'll probably go the same. I don't see them going further than that. I think I remember doing my bracket the other day, but I can't remember exactly how it went. But as I said, I had them top of their group. Previously meeting the teams in this group, they beat South Korea 2-1 in the 2018 tournament, drew one each with South Africa, of course, in the reverse of this year's tournament opener back in 2010, and beat what were known at the time, obviously, as Czechoslovakia in 3-1, all the way back in 1962. So there you go. And is that everything we've got for Mexico? Are we ready to move on to the next station, or have you got any more stats to throw at me and the viewers, Alex?
No. I've got all my Mexico stats out. I mean, moving on to South Africa now. It might not be as detailed, but and the pronunciations are probably going to get even worse. But yeah, I've got a predicted lineup from an actual South African football YouTuber, and it's quite interesting actually. A big name he's left out the side.
Oh, well, do you want to just go for that off the bat, or do you want me to just run through the squad quickly?
No, I'll go for that right off the bat. Obviously, South Africa finished top of qualifying, knocking Nigeria into the playoffs. So they subsequently went out. Massive failure for Nigeria. The fans over there are crazy, and I saw actually recently they were posting a squad for their friendly matches coming up, and the whole thing was just them saying it was just their fans saying, "Oh yeah, but we're playing friendlies while everyone else is at the World Cup." So the Nigeria fans were not happy. South Africa fans will be absolutely buzzing. And this guy who gave the predicted lineup um, sort of went with a 4-3-3 formation. He thinks they could switch between a three back and this depending on who they're playing, but he thinks their strongest style of play will be in a 4-3-3 formation. So he's gone with Ronwen Williams in goals. Um, captain, I believe, of the national team.
Yep.
And he's very very solid goalkeeper. Centre backs, he's gone for Mbakaze and Sebisi. Left back, he's gone for Aubrey Madiba, who scored in the CAF Champions League final. Right back. Oh, this is going to be bad. Kuliso Madua, he's gone for it right back. In the middle of the park, he is gone for Jaden Adams, who says he can sort of play as a sort of Roman 8. Mokianu, Thibaut Mokianu, more of a 6, and then he's actually gone for Mofa Keng, sort of playing a 10 role. So obviously those players can move around and balance that midfield out. But sort of that's the positions that he thinks they are the strongest in. Off the right, he's gone Apollos on the left. My handwriting's terrible, so I'll need to pull this name up. I've wrote all these down on a notepad, so and I think I was rushing for some of it. On the left, he has gone for Maremi. I thought that's what that said, but I couldn't tell. And through the middle, he's gone for Ikram Rainers. he doesn't want Lyle Foster to start. He doesn't think he brings enough confidence. He missed a penalty against Nicaragua. He doesn't think he thinks Lyle Foster probably is the most capable goal scorer, but he's not been doing it enough. And he thinks that Reyners brings more overall to the side.
That's very, very interesting. Yeah, that's not something that I expected. A lot of the players you said there, I expected to start from what I had seen. I think the defence and goalkeeper have been really consistent recently under the coaching of the very experienced now at 74, Hugo Bruce, the Belgian coach who will retire after this tournament after 5 years in charge.
Oldest manager ever at a World Cup.
Is he?
Yeah, he is.
Oh. I think there's another coach that's 74, and then there's Dick
Yeah,
Advocat as well.
yeah, Advocat's not the Curacao manager anymore, though.
Has he not?
No,
Well, has he been sacked since yesterday or
no.
2 days ago?
Oh wait, oh no, maybe he came back
Yeah, Dick
because he
Advocat was certainly on the touchline against Scotland at the weekend.
because I
Um,
swear he stepped down.
he might have done. I think he did at some point, but I think he was certainly back in charge for the World Cup because he's said to be the oldest one. But I think it is just in general a year for old coaches. But going into this, he was Bruce was sort of criticised because he invited all 32 players and the preliminary squad to the sort of final World Cup announcement, and then had to sort of tell six of them. Obviously, they found out at the time that they wouldn't be going, which is quite
Oh,
a strange
that's
decision.
pretty brutal. What the
Yeah,
hell?
that's quite a strange decision.
26 of them are all going, yes. And then there's those six guys just sitting going, ah, well done, mate. What you
yeah,
deserve.
yeah, no, as a difficult one. Recently he won previously. Sorry, was the Cameroon manager. Also won their fifth and most recent AFCON in 2017. Before his contract wasn't renewed at the end of that calendar year, and then he eventually turned out as the South Africa manager and actually had the opportunity to get revenge. Against them, but couldn't in the AFCON last 16 of the AFCON just gone by. And in the midfield was actually really inconsistent, the ones he started throughout that tournament. So, yeah, I think that's the really sort of maybe up in the air area of the field for them. I think Mokoena, Taboho Mokoena, Mamelodi Sundowns is a sort of ever present that you can expect him to start with the other two, maybe up for contention. You've got Jane Adams, who you mentioned, the same as Aureli Boyle Mofokeng of Orlando Pirates, who's supposed to be a big.
You're really doing a good job with these, much better than I.
No, no, I don't, I don't think I am. Sort of big talent at just 21, 45 goals and assists in his last 85 club level appearances. Obviously, you've got some other key players. We spoke about, or you spoke about the key players that missed out for Mexico. I've got a really interesting story, which you might have seen about one of the players that missed out for South Africa, Sia Bonga Ngizana, who started all five of the recent AFCON matches, but has since struggled for minutes through injury and was excluded from the squad, which, get this, caused FCSB of Romania to claim the decision has left the club at risk of bankruptcy. Because obviously, as we know, clubs get a fee for players going to the tournament. And yeah, it's a pretty crazy claim from their club.
That's so tin pot, isn't it?
And,
Imagine, imagine risking it all for risking your club survival for a fee for your player going to the World Cup.
yeah, as mental. That is crazy.
That just that just smacks of a really poorly run club, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And obviously they've sort of fell from the domination that they once had of Romanian football in recent years. Still done decent in the last season.
European domination 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, of course. Um, of course, went up against was Aberdeen. It was this season they went up against Aberdeen, was it, in
Yeah,
qualifying?
And a couple of seasons ago, they were smacked off of Rangers.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, it's not been good for them.
yeah, no, certainly not. Anyway, back to the squad. Sort of, you mentioned the captain and goalkeeper Williams, over 50 appearances. Started in all 10 qualifiers, keeping 5 clean sheets and only conceding 6 goals, and a very impressive campaign qualifying, which you referenced to. They topped the group containing Nigeria, Benin, Lesotho, Rwanda, and Zimbabwe, and they were undefeated in all but 2 of those matches. They took sort of a surprising defeat against Rwanda, and then after beating Lesotho 2-0, they were awarded a 3-0 defeat for fielding an eligible player.
A what?
Uh,
An ineligible player.
and then, yes, I got there in the, or you got there for me.
Yeah, no, but I'm actually, I don't know. I've got a tendency to root for the underdog, and I think there's a bias for a lot of these sort of nations that maybe we don't know a lot about to sort of turn our nose up at them. But researching the South Africa side, they could cause problems, and like I said earlier, this is a really really competitive group.
Yeah, and I think South Africa could possibly be one of those underdog stories. Obviously, they performed fairly well in the last tournament they were in 2010, obviously, as the host nation. Uh,
Go Bafana Bafana!
yeah, of course, for their excellent nickname. I think they got 4 points, didn't get out of the group. And I think actually the last time they were in the tournament, they got 4 points and didn't get out of the group either. Obviously, it looks like this year 4 points should be more than enough to get out of the group. And if they can achieve that, then they can have the sort of expectations to get to the knockout stages. Going through some of the more sort of high
I think
profile
I think
players.
I think in this group it's going to be an absolute dogfight for third place.
Yeah,
Second place is going to be very narrowly won. I think, like I said earlier, this group's going to be so competitive,
I agree.
so competitive,
I agree.
and it's going to be one of the most entertaining groups, I think, because every side has their strengths. I mean, South Africa have some talented players. Obviously, I think it's a bit of a cliche with some of African sides. I think it gets the language gets used a lot, even if it's untrue a lot of the time for some reason. Maybe a little bit of unconscious racism, but this side it is true. They're a physical side. Some like this, especially the centre halves. Don't know if you've seen them. It was one. I think it was Mbakazi. He looks like a monster, and some of it, like I was watching like little highlights of him. brick brick wall,
Yeah.
absolute brick wall. So yeah, there's a they bring a lot of physicality, as do another side in this group, and Mexico and South Korea probably bring a bit more of the footballing ability, you could say.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and that's something we didn't really mention with Mexico. But I was going to say about South Africa. They are quite direct, second most long passes in qualifying, I believe. Second best crossers in qualifying as well. And Mexico, big threats from set pieces. You spoke about
That's
Mbekazi, sorry, from Chicago Fire. And he's actually was the fifth highest rated defender so far in MLS this season. So having a really solid season and a decent
Yeah,
league.
that thing. MLS. I like to hype these players up. I like to say they're having good seasons, but as Scotsmen, we've had a lot of experience with the MLS, and there's not been very many success stories, managerial wise and player wise. I think maybe you could. The only one I could think of off the top of my head is not Trusty. Johnston, obviously, Trusty came through Arsenal's academy, so but
Did play in MLS though, I think.
yeah, but not like a lot before he
Yeah,
gets up. Johnston's the one with the most MLS experience.
yeah, no, agreed. And I just made the point because I believe 19, no, yeah, 19 of the 26 players in this squad are playing in the South African Premiership. The Mamelodi Sundowns and Orlando Pirates, probably the two biggest or best, certainly, clubs in that league at the minute. I think the Pirates won the title by a single point this year, just gone by, and have shared the last 9 domestic titles. So that makes sense. 8 Sundowns and 8 Pirates in the squad. And yeah, like I was saying, for Mbakasi, the other centre back likely to start is Ime Ocon from Hanover, going through
That's
the fall.
that's interesting because like I said, the guy the South Africa fan who's doing the breakdown had Sabisi starting.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of positions in contention for this squad. As I said, with the midfield, I couldn't have picked who he was going to start apart from Mokoena. As I said, someone who will definitely start, and is maybe the first name in the team sheet, and someone who I'm really excited to play is Oswin Apolis, as you I think mentioned before. Orlando Pirates winger, 10 goals and 9 assists in the debut season there. Led the team in chances created, big chances created, assists, successful dribbles in qualifying. So when we're speaking about a team that's pretty direct, he's maybe that sort of creative spark in the final third that's going to make something happen for South Africa. And if they are to be successful, and whatever means that may be in this tournament, you've got to feel he's going to be a large part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll confess I've not done as much deep dive research on individual players as you have. I mean, I've done little bits, but from the stuff I've seen on it, Apollos, however you say it, he does look like a really exciting player. Obviously, as well, I mentioned he scored in the CAF Champions League final. Aubrey Madiba, a threat from set pieces, direct and also delivery. So there are threats on the South Africa side, and although Lyle Foster hasn't been great recently, I feel like he could be a good, sort of a crucial player to have in this tournament. Obviously, he's playing he's playing in the well, not anymore, but he was playing in the best league out of all the players on this side. And he's got that experience. He's what come up against players and what many people who come and go from the Premier League say is the most physical league in the world. So he despite him not being picked by this random South African fan that I watched, he could play a crucial role in this World Cup bid for round of 32.
Yeah, certainly could. 2 goals and 2 assists in the recent AFCON, and one of I think the nation's biggest ever talents in terms of what he was maybe hyped up to be with that move to Monaco. Of course, it didn't really work out with just 2 appearances there. Then loan spells in Portugal and Belgium not really working out. Kind of found a sort of settled space at Burnley, and to play for any player to play in the Premier League, they must be doing something right. So I think he probably will start. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe the South African fan is right. Of course, I'm not doubting that he's watched more of the nation than I have, but I think he's just a big player that when you get to these tournaments that you want to have in the starting 11 to take a chance when it comes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sorry, were you going to say something there?
Yeah, I've got a bit of a mad prediction for South Africa.
Oh, I thought my prediction was bold, but you might be going bolder.
No, I'm gonna back them to get third in this group and make it out.
You know, that is my exact same prediction. So there you
I
go.
think we might have different fourth place teams though.
I think we possibly do. But 60th ranked in the world, they are the lowest ranked team in this group and are expected to finish fourth. But as we know, it never ever works out that way, especially when you've got 4 teams from different continents, and that's what makes this competition so interesting. So now I think we're ready to move on to the other South team in the group, South Korea, of course, 25th ranked in the world. Their 11th World Cup they've made it to, 10 consecutive ones on the bounce. The only other appearance outside that was way back in 1954 when I'll probably regret to remind anyone who has any care for South Korea that's watching that they were beaten 9-0 off Hungary and 7-0 off Turkey. So not a great opening.
That's brutal, man.
Yeah, but
You
that
know,
is a lot.
the come up though for South Korean football has been great. I was watching a breakdown. This guy he did a breakdown on every single team in the World Cup. Full video, full fair play. I might need to pull him up and give him credit. He's got way more subs than we do and stuff like that. But did a breakdown and he had an interview with a South Korean fan who obviously he did work with FIFA in the past. In South Korea, the K League isn't that big there, but one thing he did say when the national team play, the nation gets behind them. That's when they get hyped for football, and the state of national team football has been really good in recent years for South Korea. Obviously, Ethan, you said they've made 10 straight World Cups before 2002, where they were the hosts. They hadn't won a World Cup game. They subsequently made it to the semi-finals. There was maybe some controversy around refereeing as well, but they did make it to the semi-finals, and ever since South Korea they've always been competitive. Obviously, they have that famous win over Germany as well. I think who was it, Hwang Hee-chan, running basically the length of the pitch, and
What was that? The 2018 World Cup?
yeah.
No, that was Son. Was it not that scored?
Was it Son?
When
Sorry,
Manuel Neuer went a wander in Germany's late desperation.
I thought it was Hwang Hee-chan.
I'm
Sorry.
pretty sure it was Son. I'm 90% sure it was Heung-min Son. But no, Hwang Hee-chan will be a big part of the squad
Well,
regardless.
they've got some famous victories in this competition, but recently, the fans are not very happy with the style of play. They don't seem to have any discernible style of play. They recently switched to a back three. They did beat Trinidad and Tobago 5-0 recently, but before that, this guy was saying that they were leaking goals in qualifiers, although they did do well in qualifiers. They went undefeated, but they did concede, and they conceded 7. I should have noted that down. There are some things that I missed. They were leaking goals in qualifiers, so they subsequently switched to a back three. That shored up the defence, but it compromised their attacking play. So it seems like that they've been struggling to find a balance. And they are very weak against crosses, which for this group, stylistic matchup is absolutely a nightmare. You've got Mexico, you've got South Africa, who we just mentioned, both strong from set pieces. And then you've got the set piece kings of the group, Czech Republic, the biggest, probably. I haven't looked up the statistics, but I think it's safe to say they're the biggest side in this group in terms of stature and just physical size. So I think this could be a bit of a nightmare for South Korea, unfortunately. In their most recent game, I have the lineup here, but then I've got a list of names that I think probably will play more of a part because obviously this was a friendly against Trinidad and Tobago. So they played a 3-4-2-1. In goal was Hyun Woo Jo. They had a back three of Han Byung Lee, Yu Min Cho, and Gi Hyuk Lee. Obviously, you expect Kim Min Jae to play in the World Cup. On the right wing back, they had Kwon Kim. Left wing back was Jens Kastrop, which was a bit of a which threw me off when I was reading through the names.
Yeah,
After all,
former German youth international, the Gladbach, Borussia Mönchengladbach player. So yeah,
I don't know. Is it like a? It's kind of strange when you see stuff like that, isn't it? Like it just
yeah.
throws you off.
It's like
Uh,
Matty Cash playing for Poland a bit.
yeah, yeah. In the middle, they had Jin Kim and Sung Ho Pike, and then just the two playing behind the striker was John Ho Bae and Dong Gyong Lee, and up top was obviously Hyun Min Son, but obviously they've got some good players who didn't play in that game, like Yang, obviously of Celtic. I think he will definitely get some game time. He's had a
Yeah,
really good season at Celtic. Jae Sung Lee of Mainz, I believe, Hwang Hee Chan and Kangin Lee, obviously. So big names in this South Korea side. Sorry, I went on a bit of a rant there and just sort of spilled all my facts at once, but I was really enjoying it.
yeah, no, that's what we get into here when you're just finding out so much new stuff. And yeah, you referenced to the 2002 campaign, which was unbelievable. The first and only Asian team, I believe, to reach the semi-finals of the World Cup. They've had two round of 16 qualifications since then, including the last World Cup in 2022, but have never surpassed that mark. And I think that'll be the expectation now. You spoke about the sort of belief and expectation and how much the South Koreans get into these tournaments. I think they want to have that sort of run again, maybe not to the semi-finals, but sort of quarter-finals, and you have to go through multiple rounds in this tournament to get there, of course, with the expanded format. And I think that they are certainly capable of it, but obviously you've made points against it. I think they're the very possession dominant team and qualifying 75.8%, which is very, very high. But of course, they are one of the big nations in that continent. And yeah, especially with them in Japan, now you just expect them to qualify to the World Cup. They're just part of the furniture, you could say, of the tournament. And but I think as I mentioned, for the South Koreans, they want to go that one step further. And I think for the manager, young boy Hong, the 57-year-old, his second spell as the national team coach, and was a former player, missed out on selection for the 2002 tournament. But of course, we'll remember that fondly and we'll want to create something similar for the South Koreans. I'm just looking at they had sort of recently they've had a bit of a mixed bag in terms of friendly results. They had impressive wins against the USA and a draw against Mexico, in fact, but they were also thrashed 5-0 off Brazil, thrashed 4-0 off Ivory Coast, lost 1-0 to Austria. So yeah, it's really a sort of mixed bag when it comes to their recent form. Obviously, you mentioned some of the key players. Going through them, Kim Min Jae, as you say, playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world. Not been a starter. Yeah, he has been a starter this season, alongside Dio Upamecano, of course. 3 seasons now in Germany since his move from Napoli. Who else have we got? I would say key player Yang. I think he will get minutes. I don't think he'll start because very stacked in attacking areas, South Korea. I would say Lee Kang-in, of course, at PSG, who doesn't really get a chance to start there often, but look at the talent they've got. Just won the Champions League again.
You can see why he doesn't get the chance to start at PSG. I
Yeah,
think they've got the best four, or you could even make an argument for five sort of first choice attacking players in the world.
yeah. No, that's it. And he's obviously been built up as a big talent since signing from Mallorca, and you don't get signed by PSG if you've not got something that you're doing right. And then in the forward areas, of course, they've got Heung-min Son, still probably the talisman of this team. 15 assists and 21 MLS appearances this season, 145 caps and 56 goals for the national team. And of course, Oh Hyun-joo of Besiktas now, who's had 8 goals and 16 since signing for them in January. And of course, former Celtic, never really worked out there. But since it has worked out for him, and a really interesting stat, which probably reads excellently for South Korean fans, maybe going against. I think that you've showed your cards a little bit of where you may place South Korea in this group. Last tournament, I believe only 31% of the 2022 squad was playing in Europe or outside of Asia. Now that's been doubled for this tournament. 62% of the squad playing in Europe outside of Asia. So there you go. So it shows that Korea are getting their players to Europe, and of course that is in most cases certainly compared to the sort of K League and a few in the J League in this squad as well. That it's the higher quality of league. So yeah,
Yeah, they've got a few in the Bundesliga, a couple in Midtjylland, and Denmark. Obviously, you've got Yang at Celtic. Oh, who was at Celtic is a bit of a, I don't know, European journeyman now, I guess you could call him. But journeyman in the sense that he's been to a few places, and not journeyman in the sense that he's bounced around so many clubs. Clubs just keep picking him up because since his sort of poor spell at Celtic, he's been banging in the goals. He's been very, very good. Obviously, Son, everyone knows who he is. He was at Spurs for years. One of the greatest Premier League wingers ever. I don't think I'm overstating that at all. I don't think he gets enough of the credit he deserves, actually. I feel like when there is all-time Premier League conversations, he's never in it, but I feel like he should be, at least his name should be floated. Just a terrific player. Obviously, he's still been very good in the MLS. So yeah, they've got a good mix of players playing in good leagues, but
you have your doubts.
yeah, I was just before. I'm guessing we'll do a group prediction at the end of this. I have my doubts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, fair enough, but I think they've got enough quality in their ranks. I think almost I expect a large majority of that starting 11 to be players playing in Europe. Maybe the only area that, well, not maybe the only area, certainly the an area that will be a player from an Asian league will be the goalkeeper, of course. I think that's likely to be King Sung-gyu, who started at the last World Cup, I believe. So yeah, but I think they've got quality, and yeah, no, we'll give our predictions at the end, but I don't think we're really leaving the viewers with too much to the imagination at this stage. But moving on to the last team of the group, Czechia or Czech Republic, 41st ranked in the world, of course, qualified through the World Cup UEFA playoff qualification, getting through 2 rounds on penalty kicks, and credit the job that Miroslav Kubek, the 74-year-old's done since coming in. Took the job in December, and then his opening games were those playoff matches, which he's guided them through.
He's the other oldest manager at the World Cup.
Along with the South African and Curacao managers.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any other ones, but I'm sure we'll get to it later on in the.
Steve Clark's getting up there though. What is he, in his 60s?
I think so.
No, but Czech Republic, massive. They didn't play well in either of these qualifying games, but they got the job done. And this is their first World Cup since 2006, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and the only second tournament as Czechia or Czech Republic. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were at that World Cup in 2006. They were touted as dark horses. They failed miserably. You think of the team that they had. They had Pavel Nedved. They had Petr Cech. think Thomas Rosicky was there or thereabouts at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah, he scored a double in their only sort of points when they beat USA 3-0 in that
Yeah,
tournament, and then went on to lose to Ghana, Italy, and bowed out.
yeah. So, a golden generation of Czech football failed. But this generation not quite on the level of those players, but they're not bad. In terms of sort of lineups, I've got I've just got the squad that the team, sorry, the starting 11 that they played against Denmark in that qualifier. So they started with a 3-4-2-1. Matej Kovar, Bayer Leverkusen goalkeeper, also a bit of a career mode legend.
PSV is he not PSV Eindhoven now?
Oh, has he moved?
Yeah,
Oh, oh no. Oh, he has. Oh, he's my Leverkusen legend. I didn't realise he left.
yeah.
No, I used him this. I used him this year. Signed him from Leverkusen.
I must have moved in January,
Hmm.
or maybe the summer. I don't know. Of course, of formerly at Manchester United, and I think he will be the starting goalkeeper when the tournament comes. They've obviously got a lot of sort of talent in the goalkeeping department compared to you would look at similar ranked nations like Scotland. You would say if you were looking on the outside, and I think a lot of people looking from the inside of the nation would say the same. They're sort of scraping the bottom of the barrel trying to find a goalkeeper. They've got a lot of quality, a lot of multi-million pound players in that department. I think Kovar is probably the top pick at the minute.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So excuse my poor research there. I think I was just attached to him. But signed him for Hamburg. Went on to win the Bundesliga. Anyway, back to the real football. The back three was Stepan Chalupek, Robin Hranak, and I'm really bad with these Czech pronunciation. I'm just bad at pronouncing names, I think. And Ladislav Krejci, obviously of Wolves, made the move in the summer, but obviously it's not worked out that well for him.
Yeah.
Wolves going down as one of the worst sides. They made a they made a rallying cry towards the end, but they went down to the Championship. One of the worst
Unfair,
sides, one of the worst starts we've seen in
yeah,
Premier League.
I was going to say, in fairness to him, though, I think he's probably one of the more quality players in that squad that will find a move pretty easily. A lot of
I thought he was
expectation
a
for
lot
him.
younger than 26.
Yeah, so did I.
27.
27, yeah, 27 it says here. Of course, the national team captain, I believe, and penalty taker. Yeah, or one of the penalty takers will obviously get on to the marksman and the other one that us as Scotland fans know very well. But yeah, I think he's going to be one of their key men if they are to go on to be a successful nation in this tournament. Certainly, looking at the defence, he would be my pick as the sort of standout.
Mm-hmm. And then you've got the wing backs, sort of wing backs, right, mid, left, mid. Obviously, everyone knows Vladimir Sufal spent many years at West Ham, now at Hoffenheim, 1 goal and 8 assists in all competitions this season. Well, that was in the Bundesliga, but I was looking at all comps on the screen. But yeah, 9 goal contributions for him. Not quite slowing up yet for the right back. And then you've got Jaroslav Zeleny, who started at left wing back. Plays for Sparta Prague, obviously, in the top division in the Czech Republic. He's contributed. Sorry, I don't know why I'm stuttering. He's contributed 4 goals. Two 4 goals. He's got 1 goal and 3 assists from left wing back this campaign for Sparta Prague. Then in the middle of the park, we had everyone knows Thomas Souček, obviously being at Southampton for Yonks. And then you've got Vladimir Darida.
He's 35 now, Derrida.
Yeah, he's been about for a while, though. He's still contributing 16 goal contributions this campaign for Hradec Kralov. He was at Aris Thessaloniki for a few years after leaving Hertha Berlin, which I think is where we all know him best for playing. But he's still, he's still putting up good numbers, good performances at the ripe old age of 35.
Yeah, no, it's certainly, and he's a little bit of a surprise inclusion for me that I just sort of forget about, and you just think of him as a generation gone by. But he's obviously still got the talent that never leaves you as a footballer, and I don't think he'll be starting, but he'll probably be able to offer some sort of experience and impact to that squad. Obviously, someone who is playing in his home nation now, but did previously play in the Bundesliga, like a lot of the players in this squad currently. Four of them, 65% of the squad from the home playing in the home nation. So yeah, they've got a good mix. And one of the midfielders you mentioned is Thomas Souček, who I think most people know about, and probably is one of the players that comes to mind when you speak about Czech Republic. The other midfielder, I don't know if he's starting in this game that you're referencing to, Pavel Such, Olympic Lyon.
He was my neck. Hey, don't steal my statistic. So, moving on to the two playing in behind the striker. First is Pavel Such, who plays at Lyon. He has 21 goals and assists for the French side this campaign. Absolutely terrific, Ethan.
Yeah, exactly that. And before that, he had 62 goal involvements in around 100 games at Victoria Pilsen. So, he's always been a creative talent. And we speak about this group, and maybe we're discrediting a lot of the teams in this group by speaking about their presence and their physicality. But he's one who, like we mentioned before,
physical group though. It's like,
yeah.
Well, three of the teams in this group are really physical.
Yeah, that's why it is going to be interesting, because there is going to be sort of big physical battles between the teams, and do South Korea have that sort of technical edge, which I think they pride themselves on having, with the possession stats and some of the players they've got to really break the mold in the group and succeed.
I think just for South Korea, for me, the concern is all the talk about the struggle in the forward areas, and add to the fact that they're vulnerable to set pieces and crosses. And I think this is just the perfect storm for a really poor group for them. I think
Yeah.
giving too much away, but yeah, I think this is probably a nightmare group, unfortunately, for the South Koreans. As much talent as they have, I just think stylistically, I sound like like I'm analysing the NBA, but the stylistic matchups, just I think it's a mismatch, unfortunately, for the South Koreans. And you've got Salts, you've also got Lucas Provod, who is a massive contributor for Slavia Prague this campaign, 8 goals, 12 assists, and then obviously up top, Patrick Schick, the talisman of this team. So yeah, a really, really good sort of side. Obviously, other sort of notable names: Adam Klozek, Jan Kuchka. Who there was someone else that I wanted to mention. Mikhail Sadalek, a bit of a utility player. He can. I think he's down as a midfielder, but he can play in multiple positions. So yeah, I think this is actually a really good side. Obviously, you've got David Jurasek in the defence as well, who can come on. Thomas Holes is a good defender as well. So yeah, I really actually like the look of this Czech Republic side. I think this is a good squad, and it's not going to be pretty, but I think they'll get results.
Yeah, I think they very well could do. I'm not going to try and entirely write them off. Obviously, I'll give my predictions very, very shortly. You know what? If we just give them the predictions now, or do we have anything more to
Not just
say?
unless you've got
Yeah.
anything else to say
No,
about the
well,
Czech.
we'll start with Czech Republic and we'll start at the bottom of the group. I have them finishing fourth, which is a bit of a crazy prediction, but I can't see past the sort of relatively new coach to the role, the two games that they very marginally got past, and good teams take nothing away from that in Republic of Ireland and Denmark, but a pair of two each draws and penalty kicks in either game away from not getting here. I just think the other teams will find more, including South Korea. I do think South Africa will do enough to get third. I don't know if that means enough for them to advance for the sort of best third place teams. I do think South Korea's quality will be enough to carry them to second, but I fancy Mexico, as I said at the top of the episode. I think they will feel the backing of being one of the host nations and really thrive under it. So yeah, that's my prediction.
I wholeheartedly disagree with you. Um, I've got fourth South Korea. Um, just from basically all I was saying, I just think they'll struggle to deal with this group in terms of the physical aspects, and if they can't put, because like I think one thing as well, these teams are all fairly defensively solid, and if South Korea can't put together the attack and play against these, because these are better teams than Trinidad and Tobago. Like they won 5-0 against them. So what? These are much better teams than Trinidad and Tobago. So I just don't think, unless, right, so I'll caveat by saying if they can put together sort of their attack and play, like you said, Ethan, show their technical side, that they can score goals, I would back them to progress out this group. But just for a bit of controversy, I'm going to put them in fourth, and back South Africa to get third, Czech Republic and second, and Mexico to advance as first in this group.
Well, there you have it. That's our predictions for Group A, and I think we spoke about it throughout, speaking on all the teams on how difficult this is to call for the stylistic reasons, and just as we mentioned, the clubs being from different continents always makes it really interesting. A great group, I think, to start the tournament without any major big hitters involved. That's been the first episode of this series of us reviewing every team in every group of the World Cup. Thank you very much for watching. Go and check us out at the Twitter, the TikTok especially, as Alex has started re-uploading content on there. If you want to listen to us on Spotify, I'm going to try my very hardest to get that up and running again. And of course, this will be coming to you. These episodes will be coming daily. So if you want to go and check out the rest of our World Cup previews, then please do so. They'll be on the YouTube channel. And goodbye.